Welcome to Secured with Dr. KJ, the podcast where we break down cybersecurity, the technologies driving it, and the companies shaping our digital future. I'm your host, Dr. Kenneth Johnson, cybersecurity leader, technologist, and strategist. Cybersecurity isn't just an IT concern, it's a business imperative. Each episode, we'll explore key topics like cloud security, zero trust, AI-driven defense, and more. We'll assess how tech leaders are adapting, where they need to improve, and what it takes to stay ahead of evolving threats. This podcast features expert insights from security professionals, industry leaders, and technologists, offering real-world solutions to modern cybersecurity challenges. Whether you're a business leader, security expert, or just curious about how technology keeps us safe, this podcast is for you. Subscribe and join the conversation as we explore cybersecurity's biggest challenges, securing tomorrow, one episode at a time. Today on Secured with Dr. KJ, we're diving into one of the most urgent and debated topics in cybersecurity, AI and security, friend or foe. Joining us is someone who lives at the intersection of emerging threats and strategic defense, Terence Jackson, Customer Security Officer at Microsoft. With over 20 years of experience across the public and private sectors, Terence has worn many hats, from CISO to privacy advocate to trusted advisor for some of the world's most respected tech and media outlets. He brings a unique blend of technical expertise, leadership insight, and a forward-looking view on how AI is transforming cybersecurity, for better or worse. Terence is not just a cybersecurity executive. He's a thought leader, a mentor, and an award-winning influencer who's passionate about diversity in tech and building up the next generation of cyber talent. Today, we'll explore how AI is shifting the threat landscape, the promises and the pitfalls of AI-powered defenses, and what every security leader needs to know to stay ahead of the curve. Terence, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I appreciate the invite, Kenneth. Happy to be here.
All right, 100%. Well, let's jump right into that first question. So AI is rapidly transforming the security landscape, but in what ways is it redefining both the threat and the defense side of the equation?
Oh man, that's a great question. It has obliterated what we knew as, traditional defenses. And it basically, we used to say we were defending at the speed of cloud. Now we are advancing and innovating, but also having to defend at the pace and speed of AI. Every day, every week, it's a new model. It's a new feature. And as much as I would love to say that, defenders have gotten the leg up on this, that's not true, because the threat actors, especially when you're looking at nation states that are well funded, properly motivated, are sometimes, outpacing the defenders, because, we have rules and, change management and things to go through. They don't. AI has upended, the whole ransomware, vulnerability discovery, threat landscape, because now the barrier is so low for skills.
Right.
So for what AI is doing to uplift and upskill defenders, it's also doing the same thing for threat actors. I always tell people, the hottest programming language right now is natural language. So it's imagine telling typing in what type of attack or what you want, the LLM to discover. And then, oh, by the way, when you discovered it, fire off a couple of exploits, and, send me an email when you're done. It's a little more to it than that, but essentially that's what's happening. And defenders have to do the same thing. So we're fighting the internal and external threat when it comes to AI. So external threat actors, yeah. The internal threat is, the user population who's seeing new tools pop up every day, and they sometimes want to bring those things to work. Not picking on any one particular tool, but, when DeepSeek was announced, everybody started downloading this thing, signing up for it. It's the number one app in the App Store. And they told you, I will give them A for transparency. That's like, hey, look, all your data is coming to us and you're not getting it back. So
That is a very true statement. I looked at that, I saw it, and I had friends pinging me, and they said, "Oh, you gonna download this?" And I said, "No, I kind of like my data the way it is, safe and secure, right over here." And so, no, I get it. I totally get it. And so, when you think about that landscape that's out there, right, for AI and just security in general, like what advantages does AI bring to these defenders that we have that weren't previously available? Because you did mention, oh, these attackers, they don't have a change management plan or a person that they need to go through a QA, QC, right? And so, what are some of those things that we can do now? And what are some of the advantages?
I would say, it's a couple of those. I would say one is being able to now reason over large amounts of data and have the AI make sense of that data. On average, it's like what 4 or 5 devices to every one person, on the planet, and those all generate, telemetry data. And from an organization's perspective, as each employee probably has a laptop, a phone. We're moving and we're traveling around, accessing all of these cloud services which are generating log data.
Mm-hmm.
Traditionally it was a highly manual process of writing correlation rules and writing detections, which was laborious and not fun.
Right.
Now you can basically, have the LLM do a lot, if not all of that. I say tier one-ish type work where it's looking for anomalies. I say looking for a needle among a stack of needles to look for that particular one. It's like, what's peculiar about this one? And what that's doing is freeing up, staff to go do other things.
Right.
So that's one of the more, I would say, tangible ones. But also when we look at, red teaming or testing the organization's defenses, as we've moved into the agentic portion of AI, you
Yeah.
can have agents to do a lot of those repetitive tasks to go out and test, look, scan for new devices, scan for new IPs, scan
Right.
for new domains that have popped up. And this is happening now in basically near real time because, agents don't call in, they don't get sick,
Right.
they don't ask for pay raises. That's a topic for another podcast. But essentially, we now have the ability to more rapidly defend the digital estate as quickly as the attackers are attacking the digital estate. So essentially, we have time back. And now we can kind of take a leg up and get ahead of them and look for those choke points, look for the potential impact if, a service or identity was exploited and try to, again, try to get the leg up because minutes matter nowadays.
Oh, yeah.
On average, we're looking at about 72 minutes from the time employee clicks a link in a malicious email to your data is one being exfiltrated, you being ransomware or a combination of the both. So dwell time is in minutes now instead of months and weeks. So
Wow. So the assumed breach is a real thing. 72
yes.
minutes?
Yes.
That is a real thing. So that is it's probably as long as it's going to take me to run a whole half a mile since I haven't ran in forever. So, but I would I then say this. I mean, you said a couple of things there, and so my next question is really around how Microsoft's made some major investments, right? You being a chief security officer, and they've integrated all this stuff into AI, right? Into the security stack as well. So, but from your perspective, how is AI enhancing threat detection, that the response and the overall posture management, which I think is the real key here for especially CISOs and folks that you talk to on a daily basis?
Yeah, great question. Outside of what I, said, I would say, especially from our lens, threat intelligence. We get to see a very unique perspective of the world. When you think about, 73% of the world's computers are running a Windows operating system. When we have things like Bing, Xbox, LinkedIn, we get a unique perspective and a lot of telemetry that we get to see. And now what we get to also do is bring that back into our security platform to help our customers be better defenders. And the way that shows up sometimes, you probably would like to know, if you're an organization and you're being targeted by a nation state, that probably will be a little bit beneficial for you. You probably would adapt the way that you're defending yourself based off the TTPs, the tactics and procedures, that these threat actors are using versus, not knowing that, not having that information available. But if you go, I say, a step beyond that, thinking about the agents, having an agent that can automatically adjust your posture based off of the attacks that are seeing in real time, and the threat intelligence that's being, infused into the platform. So again, being able to do that autonomous posture management perspective, which has been, it's been whack-a-mole. You get some IOCs or, indicators of compromise, and you write new detection rules, and we've seen in, SOAR was supposed to take a lot of that away and help us automate the SOC. And it was just another version of writing rules that, don't give, I won't go down that one. But now we're really truly at a point to where we can autonomously do things as trust is being built with, these agents and AI. But we're still keeping the humans in the loop. So I'm not saying, you should have a SOC fully run by AI and agentic agents. But no, what you're doing is freeing up resources to do those higher level tasks while your agents are going out and looking again at those repetitive things, the zeros and the ones, and trying to find and make sense of it. And now I can report back to the, the pilot,
Right.
co-pilot, pilot,
Right.
and allow us to make better informed decisions. So at the end of the day, it's giving us, another superpower that we didn't have, that defenders have much needed, because, we're short staffed. And if you believe the numbers out there, it's 3, 4, 5 million, jobs in cyber. And that number, regardless of how many people, keep coming into the field, is still growing, because the digital estate is growing. AI is here, it's growing. Devices,
Everything's connected. Everything is connected. So, I think soon the air is going to be connected at some point. And so I'm just waiting for somebody to come out with that. And so, but, as I think let's take this down just a slightly different path. And so when you think about posture management, you think about AI in general, security in general, you need people to staff that, right? Yes, we have agentic AI, we have AI itself, security copilot. There are multiple tools out there from our competitors as well. So what are some of the personas, right? If we look at the personas that we need to be sitting in these seats, because I think customers or people that are reorganizing their organizations, right? They're reorganizing that. How are they looking at a network engineer, right? And can they come in and do some of the work of a security person? They've been a network engineer for 15 years, 20 years at the same job. How can you cross-train what you already have, which I think then reduces the time to value in bringing in someone new? So this is just my thought. And so I would love to understand like how you think about that.
Yeah, that's a great question. I kind of had a similar conversation with a customer earlier today, but the way I see that as is now, we say, on the job training.
Right.
So now you can have that mentor that digital mentor sitting with you,
Right.
because you're already bringing a base set of skills. So if you're a network engineer, you pretty much understand the network stack, the layers, the OSI model. But what you might not understand is the threat landscape, or you might not understand, some of the alerts that you're looking at that are coming from a security perspective. So now, you can get basically help. Remember Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? You can call a friend. You got a friend that's sitting right there with you that's looking, that you can prompt, you can ask, that's not going to, again, that take days off. It's not going to the bathroom. It's not going to take a lunch break, and that you can continue to iterate with, and it learns you. So I think that's one of the interesting things. It's really going at the pace that you're available to go at. But one of the, AI has really changed the way that education is happening and will happen. A lot of companies that were in that ed space are having to pivot because AI has democratized learning to a degree, which is great. I mean, the challenge is a lot of people are still using some of these chatbots. Like, we used, Bing or Google before it had the AI infusion. You're asking them the question, you get an answer, and you go away, instead of, you can actually prompt these tools now. It was like, hey, quiz me on X, explain it to me like I'm, a 5-year-old. So there's so many different ways we can demystify these complex topics into digestible chunks. And that's very important when you start looking at highly technical roles and disciplines. And I've done some of this, explain, the OSI model to me like I'm a 3-year-old. And I was just like, oh, well, okay, that makes sense. Okay. So I think the upskilling and the cross training and the transferable skills can all be embraced and enhanced within this new world of work and world of learning. And for things that you're emerging on, this is where I go back to, you just it's probably going to be an agent for that. The agent could call another agent based off of your skills gap.
100%. No, I totally agree with that, and that's the fun part of what the future is bringing, right? And it's also the scary part too. And we just don't. You don't know what what you're supposed to know until you're in the thick of it, and that is the key. And so when you think about these attackers that are out there and they're using AI, and you kind of alluded to it in the first question that you had answered, how do we really stay ahead of them in that arms race where both sides are becoming more automated and more intelligent? You mentioned they didn't have change management, right? We need change management for certain reasons.
Right.
But I would love to understand, like, where is that intersection at? And how can we take it forward and win a battle against these hackers and attackers?
My perspective on this is, and I'll give my analogy on this. We like the blinky boxes, right? What's the next gen, the new shiny, whatever that is. We've struggled in the industry for years to do the basics. For 20, 25 years, we've been talking about patching. We've been talking about password hygiene. We've been talking about RBAC. So while the technology is advancing and we're playing whack-a-mole and going back and forth with the threat actors, what they're actually discovering and exploiting, for the most part, is old stuff, like password reuse, accounts without MFA, unpatched vulnerabilities that have available patches from software. So what they're doing is they're using this to more rapidly discover these vulnerabilities that are tied to very basic principles. So, what we like to talk about at Microsoft is zero trust, right? So I think defenders, if we throw AI out the window right now, if we can get more companies to embrace full zero trust principles and architectures, what we're doing is we're going to frustrate the attackers because we're going to make it more difficult for them to pivot into our networks, to move laterally to get access to, what our crown jewels are, which generally are credentials or data, at the end of the day. So we just have to get better at doing the basics, which goes back to AI now. We have a force multiplier to help us discover where we're deficient at. And most of those times it's the basics. So maybe we start pushing out agents that do, going back to the autonomy of like, hey, I see that these 20 accounts don't have MFA on them. Maybe I should turn that on and send an email like, hey, I just enabled MFA on this account. Or we have networks that can sort of segment based off of interesting things going on in the network. It's like, never seen that traffic from that device before. So maybe I'm going to also, isolate this device from the rest of the network, which, our platform does some of that already. But, it's nothing new under the sun, but it is. But a lot of these attacks aren't novel. Now, there are some instances where AI has been able to generate and write some 0 days and some interesting exploits, but that's not happening at a wild pace yet. Will it? Probably at some point, yeah, but it's still though, we got to get back to the basics, man. We sometimes focus on securing, the garage door, but the doggy door is still open, the patio door is still cracked, and then we didn't lock the front door. So
that is an unfortunate thing, and that is a very true statement. We really do need to look at all aspects of the house, not just the garage door in your reference there. So when we can figure that part out and be efficient and effective with that, I think that's exactly what you said. That's where we're going to start to win and make the turn to the greater good. I should say back to the greater good. So what would be your final thoughts on just AI and security? What would you tell the people listening to this show? Why? Is it a friend? Is it a foe?
It's both.
It's both.
But you have to use it. Regardless of where you are on the friend or the foe, you have to use it, because just from an innovation perspective, if you don't, you're going to get left behind. Businesses are rolling out AI at a, amazing pace, to gain efficiencies, to make them more competitive, in the market. And, it's friendly in that regard. It's going to give your, employees a leg up in what they're already doing. It's going to allow them to spend more time doing more meaningful things during the day instead of, clearing out their inbox or responding to, the same messages over and over again. Mm-hmm. It's going to empower them to learn new skills, as we talked about.
Right.
But it's, on the foe side, it's the double-edged sword, right? The threat actors are using it to do what they do. These threat actors, which I think goes, a lot of people don't understand that it's an economy. They have jobs, just like we have jobs as defenders. A lot of these nation state, actors, they go to the office. Wow. They have procedures and processes. They have quotas on how many, entities they need to attack today. It's not random. They're doing recon. So they're building dossiers on their companies and their targets. They're scraping, social media profiles. So it's a full-time job. So we need to, again, treat our full-time jobs as such, to make sure that, we don't get out, maneuvered by the bad guy. And AI, I think, is going to be a huge tool and differentiator in that. It's really going to, for the first time, I believe, we have the ability to get the leg up, but we're still going to have to go back and do some of those basic tasks. And I think this will also help us to do some of those, because none of those are, exciting things to do. And
Right.
that's sometimes why they don't get done, because it's just not exciting. It's like, I don't want to do
Exactly.
that. But the attackers are looking like, oh, look at that. They didn't even lock the door. Just
Right.
logged in. All right.
I think about Cisco passwords. So when you're setting it up, so that's first thing that comes to mind. And so, no, Terrence, this has been amazing. Truly appreciate you blessing us with your presence here on the show, and look forward to having you in future, iterations of the episodes here. So thank you again.
No, thank you. I appreciate it.
And that wraps up another powerful episode of Security with Dr. KJ. A huge thank you to Terence Jackson for joining us and sharing his wisdom on how AI is redefining cybersecurity, both as an opportunity and a challenge. If there's one clear takeaway, it's this: AI isn't optional, it's inevitable. Whether you're defending the front lines or managing posture at scale, AI can be your greatest ally if you use it wisely. But let's not forget, foundational security practices still matter. Lock the digital doors, patch the gaps, empower your people. Thanks again to Terence for breaking it all down and giving us a real world perspective on how to lead with intention in this new AI powered era. Be sure to share, subscribe, and stay connected. As always, we're securing tomorrow, one episode at a time.